Chief, contracting has been looked at for many, many years, as we're all very aware of. The criteria used in the past and always been is to look at contracting and see that the same level of service can be maintained at a certain percent of the cost savings, 15, 20, 25%, whatever that number may be. If you were looking at contracting for, say, East County unincorporated areas, and a contract model was put together that didn't deliver the same level of service that's being delivered right now, is that something that you would be in favor of if there was a cost savings or not?
No, not acceptable. Not acceptable. Again, I think we need to look as often as we can for alternative funding sources, those grant dollars. I know the people of Corbett are very disappointed they don't have a school safety officer, but again, what we found in Gresham is that we had to lobby the schools to help pay for that. So again, we need to look at some of those alternative ways of funding, but reducing a level of service is not acceptable.
Providing some of the countywide services that the Sheriff's Office does provide, we're no stranger to funding, even the federal sources, I mean, just from everywhere, as much as possible. But a lot of those funds come with caveats, whether they're limited, one-time, contingency funds. So obviously there's been a lot of instability in our funding, which led to a lot of frustration, obviously, especially in the last 8 years where there's been a reduction every single year. You haven't addressed specifically any ideas that you would have. I mean, to speak in general terms, like find money. Believe me, we're getting professionals trying to find money.
Right, I agree.
But one thing that we have every single year is because the problem is that we don't have a stable source. I mean, there's high rises going up left and right downtown with, $1 million flats in them that, because of, relationships with the cities, the county hasn't been able to capitalize on a lot of the funding of potential taxation of those. And I don't see our county commissioner stepping up right now. I've asked these same questions of several different candidates in the past, and have been given the same answers. Do you have any specific ideas that can stabilize the funding, not only for law enforcement, not only for the Sheriff's Office as a whole, but for the county, so that we don't have the budget crisis that we have every single year?
The only thing I can say, and it's really risky to say as a candidate, but again, we have to look at the state level for a different funding source. And until the voters of the state of Oregon want to see that happen, we are faced with really, really tough times. I understand completely. I know what we're dealing with at the city of Gresham. As I mentioned earlier, involved with this Commission on Children's, Families, and Communities. I see the county budget. There's not an easy answer to that. And I think the one that is most logical, but I'm not convinced is going to happen in the near future, again, is looking at a different type of funding at the state level.
And that has been thrown out many times before, as
right.
It's no strange idea by any means, but you have everybody outside Multnomah County, which is a unique beast to the rest of our state, that they're over there having their own funding crisis, whether it's timber or fishing or whatever you have. And why would they want to subsidize what we do, not only in East County, but in the city of Portland, which supposedly has a ton of money resources. So I don't know how viable that is unless there's some specific thing. And again,
I'm sorry.
Like a sales tax or something like that, which is taboo in this state.
But again, it can also be, as you know, the city of Wood Village talked about that. I mean, it is something that could also be done on a county basis, the I-tax being an example as well.
Do you support there being a casino there at the Greyhound racetrack?
Well, there are so many changes that have to take place for that to occur.
Right.
Some constitutional changes to make that happen.
Multnomah County currently has the ability to have two different, I don't know exactly the terminology. They have two different contracts their ability to run gambling facilities within Multnomah County. They were always the horse track and the dog track. And so that, it doesn't have to be a reservation, it doesn't have to be Native American affiliated. It can be a betting facility That exists already, it's existed forever, that's why the dog track's never gone away, it's just gotten much smaller. But there's been a large push by the big campaign to get that into a big family fun center, water park, I mean, a very large facility with a tremendous tax base associated to it to some degree or another. And I just want to know if you support it or not.
Well, any development there it will increase that tax base. I personally have some concerns related to a casino, and I can tell you that I've heard all the talk about it. There's nothing down on paper, there's no design, there's none of that being considered. I've been told, and perhaps in error, that for that to occur for a casino on non-tribal land, that does require a constitutional change.
We're out of time, so that will be the last question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.